That is not true. Yeah, that is not true.
I think I need Disney to listen to this and make a change.
That is brilliant.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't understand.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am your host, Allie, joined today once again by LJ. Hey
Hi
LJ.
there.
And Stacy, back for season 2 for the first time. Hey Stace.
Hi.
Today we are talking something I think is very important and maybe sometimes something you forget about in all of the big important things you have to do when you're planning your Disney trip, and that's Disney transportation. All of the ways that Disney provides for you as a Walt Disney World guest to get from point A to point B and maybe even C, D, and E in any given day right on property.
I love this topic. I'm psyched for this. You know, I have my pick of topics on which ones I want to be on. And this was one that I'm like, I got to be here for this because I feel like there's so much strategy. There's like 80 different ways you can get somewhere, but there's a best way.
That's
sure.
Exactly it. There's a best way. And we play a game all the time where we're talking about, you know, how are we going to get from here to here and how long is it going to take us? And maybe that's just because I'm a super competitive, goal-oriented person. And so I'm constantly turning everything into a challenge. But it is fun when you're on Disney property to think about how are you going to get somewhere? And that's just the type of thing that kind of makes me tick. So Disney offers several different types of transportation, and they don't all connect every piece of the puzzle. So sometimes you're going to use multiple and sometimes you'll only use one. And it really depends on what your plan is. So the methods of transportation that you can find inside Disney World in that bubble that we've discussed on the show is the monorail. That's going to be the really most famous, iconic sort of train in the sky type deal. The Skyliner, which is those gondolas that are up in the sky. Boats, of course, walking. And then the buses that are pretty much going to offer you transportation everywhere. And the paid service on property, which is minivan. Do you all have a favorite of those?
Oh, I think I'm going to go with Skyliner. I like, it would be between the monorail and the Skyliner, but I'm going to say Skyliner.
I agree. I think Skyliner is the most fun. Monorail is great and I would have said that pre-Skyliner, but Skyliner, just the idea that a lot of the times we are riding by ourselves as a family and there's nobody else in there. And we just have a really great time that way. So the privacy of a Skyliner just adds that little extra touch. Plus, it can be a thrill ride right there at the end. You're pulling into the bay. Man, that's a really fun time.
It is. And Stacy's referring to it almost every time you're coming into a Skyliner hub. It almost feels like your gondola is going to hit the one in front of you. But, you know, magically it never does because it's Disney. So I have to agree with both of you. I think I like the Skyliner the most. So let's start by talking a little bit about the Skyliner. One of the things I love about it is it connects several resorts in different resort levels, which we can talk about a bit later. I love that aspect of it. So it's very user-friendly on a really broad spectrum. And then it also connects my two favorite theme parks, which are Hollywood Studios and Epcot. So when you are staying at any of the resorts on the Skyliner, which are Pop Century, Art of Animation, Caribbean Beach, and the Riviera, you can take the Skyliner to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. It's very fast. It's very convenient. It's very fun. And it's so easy. So I love it for that. And then you can also take it between Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So if you're going to be park hopping between those parks, you can take it that way as well.
Making it the easiest two parks to park hop back and forth to.
100%. And we often, you know, start in one of the parks and hop back and forth between them even multiple times in a day because it's so easy, which can actually lead us to talk a little bit about the boats that Disney offers as well. Boats are utilized at several resorts and actually multiple destinations. So it just depends on where you are, which boat service you're going to be using. But there is a boat service that also connects in that same Hollywood Studios Epcot area, the resorts that are set there, the Boardwalk, the Yacht and Beach Club, and actually the Swan and Dolphin, which is sort of like an on-site, off-site hybrid resort. So the boats are fun and easy as the Skyliner can be. They take a little bit longer, they don't go quite as fast, but it's still a nice way to get to wherever you're going. So you could take a boat in that area, that Crescent Lake area between Epcot and Hollywood Studios. There are also resorts that are going to offer boat service to Disney Springs. That's going to be Port Orleans, both Riverside and French Quarter, as well as Saratoga Springs and Old Key West. So those resorts are going to offer bus service to that shopping, eating, and entertainment district that we've talked about before, that Disney Springs area, which is great on your down day. And then the resorts in the Magic Kingdom area, Wilderness Lodge, the Polynesian, Grand Floridian, those resorts are going to offer boats to Magic Kingdom, which is super fun as well.
I love the boats. I think the thing you got to remember, though, is some boats will let you roll your stroller on and some boats will not.
Yep, exactly. This is one of those inconsistencies that can be really frustrating because sometimes you don't know which type of boat's going to roll up or what the driver is going to say. Yes, you can wheel that right on in here, or no, you got to fold it up. So sometimes you're not prepared and then you feel a little rushed. We've experienced that as well.
I do think it's usually pretty predictable. Depending on the time of year, if it's going to be, I call it, I don't know if what's the real term, but I call it the big boats and the little boats. And obviously the big boats, you can roll your stroller right on. You don't have to fold it. And the little boats, the ones where you have to step down, they make you fold your stroller up. And I've definitely just asked them, if a little boat comes up, I'm like, is a big boat coming behind you? And if they're like, yes, I'm like, I'll wait another 15 minutes. I'm not folding a stroller.
That's so funny. It's like, what do you value? Do you want to stand here and wait so you don't have to fold it? Or would you rather fold and not wait? That's a good question. What would you do, Stacy? Would you wait or fold?
Gosh, it has been so long since I've had strollers. And I really often didn't even take strollers back and forth from hotels because we would rent. I think I had mentioned that before. So in my imagination, I really think sleeping baby, I would wait for the next boat.
Oh gosh, yeah. If
we
somebody's
don't
sleeping.
get sleeping kids out of a stroller, right? You just leave them in there if you can and leave all your stuff. So I would wait for sure.
So that's going to lead us then into the monorail, the best of the best, because you don't have to fold that stroller ever. Mm-hmm. The double stroller can wheel right on. Single stroller can wheel right on. 2 strollers can wheel right on.
Yep.
This is why it is so desirable.
Yes.
To so many. Aside from just being classic, iconic, and fun, that is a huge, huge perk to those monorail resorts, which are the Contemporary, Grand Floridian, Polynesian. And then, of course, it not only connects Magic Kingdom and the Tickets and Transportation Center, but also Epcot, which I always love because it's sort of a longer extended ride through Disney World. And then you get that backstage sort of currently look inside Epcot and over those construction barriers of the new Moana area.
Yep. It's just a fun ride. I like it too. Very scenic.
Have either of you ever taken the big multi-level riverboat from the Tickets and Transportation Center over to Magic Kingdom?
Yes. Yeah. And I have feelings. I have feelings about it.
Okay. What are they?
My feelings are that when they are telling you at the Transportation and Ticket Center that the ferry will be just as short as the monorail, they take the same amount of time, which if the monorail has a long line, they will be out there saying that. And I have to hold my tongue because I want to be like, liar, lies, lies. There is no way that it is the same amount of time to ride the ferry as to take the monorail. So don't believe them when they say that. But it is a fabulous ride. I actually really enjoy it coming back because if you can hit it in the sun setting over the water and the wind, and it's a whole vibe. So I'm not anti-ferry at all. I'm just telling you it's not the same amount of time as the monorail.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Very clearly, it's not. But it is fun. And we, a lot of times, will be staying at the Polynesian in a building that's pretty close to the TTC, that Tickets and Transportation Center. And we can hear early in the morning and sort of late at night as that ferry is going to and from Magic Kingdom, we can hear just people having a party on board. They're just everybody yell and people are cheering. It's just a really fun experience. So I do like doing that as well, but it sort of feels like a very isolated, you have to be at this place at this time and going to this place to utilize it. So it's not really in the Disney transportation umbrella, but it is a fun little thing. I don't think we mentioned on the Skyliner, you can wheel your single stroller on. but they're going to make you fold a double, which.
Or you're back to back double. You're okay. Like front to back double. You can
That's a
roll
great
on.
point. That's a great point. In my head, I'm thinking
side double. No.
Yeah. So in my head, I'm thinking you can't fold, or you have to fold your double because my double stroller is a side by side. But you're exactly right. If you've got a stroller that kids sit front back, you don't have to.
I switched my stroller over that. I had a side by side when the Skyliner started, and I was like, wait, what? And I switched it. I like both of them. I still have both of them, but I definitely am like, I'm not folding you guys know I have stroller folding anxiety. So
I have the hardest stroller on the planet to fold. I'm like the only person that knows how to do it. I'll give my stroller to people and say, okay, try to fold this. So how fast can you figure this out? And literally nobody ever can. We just like it because it's lightweight, but it's hard to fold. And so, anytime we have to fold it, I know I'm going to be responsible for that. And I can share a little bit in that anxiety. So I have a funny story about the Skyliner. I was recently on a work trip with you, LJ. A friend of mine, another agent in the agency, and I had a big project we were working on, and we needed a minute that we were going to have some downtime, quiet, where it was just the two of us so we could sort of plan. And we made a Skyliner gondola like our office. And we were able to, on the ride from Epcot to Hollywood Studios, just sort of sit there and talk and work. And it was awesome. It was so
That's
fun.
Perfect. Oh my goodness.
So
that
amazing.
Sounds awesome.
And that's just a funny little, you have this privacy. It's a beautiful view. It's quiet. So we've turned, the transportation into everything, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Take advantage of that time.
Yeah. So all of the transportation is great. It is all included with your stay at Disney World, even if you're not an on-site guest, but you're trying to go from one place to another, and there is a Disney transportation like let's say the Skyliner that connects Epcot and Hollywood Studios. It's free for everyone. That's not just reserved for on-site guests or anything like that. It's included. It's fun. It's easy. The only thing that's not included are going to be those minivans, which we have touched on before. They are a lift service that Disney provides specifically inside the Disney bubble. And they are legit minivans painted like Minnie Mouse.
Super cute.
Adorable. Rather expensive, way more expensive than a normal lift ride. If you're not crazy like me and everything doesn't have to be Disney, like you could just get a normal lift. But if you want all of the Disney feels all the time, you could order that minivan. They come equipped with 2 car seats. That's a really fast way. My family only uses it if we need to go somewhere that's not easily connected by a network or we need to get somewhere really fast.
I think that the minivans have a couple advantages over Uber or Lyft. They are very expensive. I would say 2 to 3 times as much, but a couple of advantages. They pick you up from inside where the buses are when you're at Magic Kingdom. No other car service is allowed in there. If you're at Magic Kingdom and you're trying to get somewhere quickly, your only 2 options are to take the monorail back to the transportation and ticket center, or you have the option to walk to either the Grand Floridian and call an Uber from there, or walk to the Contemporary, which is going to be the faster option. You're looking at least like a 10-minute walk. If you're tired, it might be worth that extra money to go ahead and splurge on the minivan. And then the second thing, which you mentioned, is that they will have 2 car seats in the minivans, which is really important. A lot of moms have 2 young kids that are still in that age bracket. The Uber car seat option only has 1 car seat.
The only thing I would say is if I have 3 young kids that use car seats, I probably wouldn't even mess with a car. That's one of those times where I'm so grateful that I don't have to worry about strapping anybody into anything or them strapping. They can just walk right on the monorail with us, rock right on the Skyliner. That's one of the things I love the most because, car seats take a while to install and uninstall, although they do it for you. I love that we don't have to worry about that aspect of it with 3 young kids. I said if I had 3 young kids in car seats. I do have 3 young kids in car seats.
Doesn't your 8-year-old, can't she get away with a booster?
She's a booster. Yeah, she's like almost not even booster anymore. That's finally getting so easy to just pal around with,
With Asher, he's 9. He is in like our vehicles. We have a high back 5-point harness because I'm just, why not? It's an easy thing to have. But he's like over the legal limit that he doesn't really need anything. So I'm like, it's getting so much easier as time goes on.
The other thing that we haven't touched on it yet is walking. We've talked a lot about walkability on this show. I love how Disney has made so many parts of Disney World walkable. You have resorts that walk to 3 out of 4 of the theme parks. You have resorts that walk to Disney Springs. You know, you can walk, and it's lovely walks. Like I said, LJ, you've talked about them a lot. So that's something not to discount when you're thinking about transportation, you know, your own feet. And Disney's made it easy. And then, of course, the buses, the bus system that connects everything. It's slower. You know, sometimes you will really wait for a bus. They're not as, like Stacy had mentioned, continuous as the gondolas for the Skyliner. They are regular, and you can track the wait times at the bus stops and in the apps and things like that. But it works, you know, it's fine. And actually my mom did a great job when we were younger. The buses would just be a game. We would be watching the buses come, and we would be so excited to see where each one was going. And so I don't know if that's just ingrained in me, but the bus system for me, where it does feel like a hassle and sort of a nuisance for some, I still like it. I have no problem with it. We make friends with the people we're sitting with, and, you know, it's great.
And it's still better than having to fight traffic yourself.
I completely agree. Yeah. And my kids pass out on those buses. At the end of a long day, they'll be asleep. The bus is dark and quiet. They're out.
Okay. So I think that I have a good policy that I'd like to share with listeners. My policy is to never take Disney transportation more than one location. So if I'm at my resort and I want to go to another resort, I could easily jump on a bus and ride to Magic Kingdom or to any close park. And then I could get off the bus, go to the other resorts, you know, turnstile, wait there for the next bus, and then I could ride. And I could get there for free. But I am like, it's against policy. I've made this decision long ago. Allie, do you have policies?
I have so many life policies. I try not to stick to them anymore. I'm trying to let go of my policies.
No, I love my policies, and they serve me well. Like, I don't have to decide. So I am like, I will definitely pay like the $14 that it's going to cost to take me right from one resort to the other, rather than, you know, waiting 15 minutes for a bus, waiting 15 minutes for it to take me to the park, waiting 15 minutes for the next bus, then waiting another 15 minutes to actually get to. I've done the math, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense financially for us to spend an hour of our time this way to save $15. So that's my policy. If you have to go more than one location on property to get there, don't use Disney transportation, use Uber. And then another policy that I have is to never leave my car, go to a second location. It reminds me of the one where, like, don't go to a second location with a stranger. Like,
exactly. That's great. That's a good one.
Because
then you have to strategize. How are you getting back?
And it's, so I always take the time, if I'm going, like if I have my car at Epcot and I want to hop to Hollywood Studios, it would be so easy for me to take the Skyliner, but I'm like, no, girl, it's against policy. Go get your car, park it at Hollywood Studios, because I know I've been that LJ enough times that's like coming out of Hollywood Studios drained and tired and just wanting to be home and being like, oh, shoot, my car is over at Epcot. I've actually even left my car and gone back to the resort and been like, oh, where's my car? So we don't do that anymore. I always take the car to the second location.
Or just use Disney transportation and don't have the car.
We talked about how having a car at Disney is really not that much of an asset. It's more of a park it in the parking lot and leave it situation.
Stacy, you stayed at a monorail resort recently on a trip, right?
Right. We were at the Contemporary just a couple weeks ago.
And did you had older kids with you. So how did it go?
It was really great. And it was actually their first time being there. So it was really fun. They had a lot of fun with there's something about that idea of a monorail going through your building. It's just really cool. So cool. And it's like, even as grown kids, they're like, this is so cool.
And I know this is probably not how it happened, but I picture like the room where they were talking about ideas and Walt being there and being like, what if we had the monorail go through the building?
Yes,
the whole room is like,
yeah. And it is one of those things that it's been there from the beginning. And it is something that I attain, I desire to get to that point one day, like, oh, I can't wait till I can stay in the hotel where the monorail runs through it. Like I didn't even know the name of it for a long time. It's just like, it's just that triangle building that the monorail goes through. So it was really fun. We had a great time with that. It was fun for them to kind of learn. And another thing with having my teenagers this time was we let them be on their own a good bit. This trip was really a lot about the two of them being able to have some time together as they're about to go their separate adult ways very soon. And it was neat for them to they were learning how to do the things, where is this monorail going to go? What about this TTC? Things from that perspective were different. And so it was really fun. And on our arrival night, we actually decided, knowing this episode was coming up, I wanted to go on a little adventure, and we did every form of Disney transportation other than the lift. We didn't do the lift, but every other one we did. Bus, we did Skyliner, we did monorail, we did boats. It was so fun. We had a good time.
Did you do it all in one day?
Oh yeah, all in one night, like for dinner.
That's so fun.
Yeah,
I would do that just
great.
for fun, just to be like, I have a reservation at this place, and how can I make a point to use every transportation to get there?
Yeah, so real quickly, see if I run it down. We did bus from Contemporary to Hollywood Studios Skyliner to Riviera. We ate quick service Primo Piatti at Riviera. Then we did Skyliner back to Epcot. So we were at the back gate of Epcot, and we walked around. We had dessert at Beaches and Cream. Then we got on the boat, rode it back to Hollywood Studios, and then this is where it got really insane. We took a bus to Polynesian and we did the monorail from the Poly back to the Contemporary.
I feel like you should have got a Dole Whip there just to make it like a snack and a...
Well, by that time we were kind of like, what are we doing? I'm just ready to go home. What are we doing?
I think that sounds so fun. That's hilarious. And it's a great way to sort of sum up how you Disney transportation in creative ways and in ways that work for functionality and just for fun. Disney makes it easy. So navigating these systems can be a bit confusing and honestly overwhelming. I talk to families and clients when I'm working as a travel agent all the time who are thinking, wait, how do I get from here to there? And how's this going to work? We're going to break all of that down a little bit as we dive deeper into transportation and all of the ways Disney has maximized it for its guests after we take this quick break. Hey, Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast listeners. Have you joined our online communities yet? You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast, where we're connecting daily with listeners, answering questions, and sharing our favorite Disney memories. Joining one of our communities, especially on Facebook, is like pulling up your own chair and joining the conversation yourself. Why let Tuesday be the only day you hear from us? Come join us to continue episode conversations, or maybe even tell us if you disagree with something we've said. We're planning trips, offering tips, and ready for you to pull up your chair. So follow the links in our show notes and join us at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast on Facebook and on Instagram. Welcome back, everyone. It's time now to hit the sevens, where we take the personalities of the seven dwarves and break down the topic of the day, which, of course, today is Disney transportation systems. We are going to start with happy. Things that make us happy. We've covered a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, I'm just going to jump outside of the bubble as we use that term a little bit to just say that the thing that makes me happy, as I am mostly driving 99.9% of the time, driving from Alabama to Disney World. And so I'm bringing my car. I just want to say how happy I am that there is no longer overnight parking fees at the resorts. Thank you so much for the change. That was an just really annoying fact that we had to pay for that. We did, of course, but it being gone is just like, I shouldn't feel that freedom, but I do. I'm just so happy.
It makes it, for people like you, Stace, you don't live near property, but you live close enough that you don't fly to property. So for someone like you who is going to be driving, that alone makes it easy for you to drive in and then forget the car, like we've been saying, and use that Disney transportation. So no matter where you're staying, your car can just be parked. You're not racking up fees, and you can still drive in like you like, but then use the transportation, which is way better. So having that free and then the transportation being obviously free, as we've said, or included with your stay. Those are things that make me happiest about it. And I love how different they all are. Disney didn't just say, here's buses everywhere. The Skyliner being up in the sky is just such a Disney touch, in my opinion. Like, of course, we're going to have the Skyliner, that takes you all far. I mean, when you're going from Epcot to Hollywood Studio, that's a far line.
It makes me happy that it's an experience. Disney could, like you said, have just put us all in like rectangular buses going down the roads, but they like really thought, how do we make this part of the experience of being at Disney? And my kids have learned so much. I always say they're homeschooled via Disney. I mean, especially if you fly in, when you have a little kid that's learning about transportation and like you take that time and like you talk about planes and you talk about boats and you talk about buses and you talk about, bikes and all the things, like you have the little picture book where you're turning the pages, and then you take them on the trip and you fly there, then everything else is all there and they can see and like learn all the things and just the experience of it. I'm like, go Disney. This is what I love you for.
Yeah, I agree. Everything is an experience. And I feel that with Disney transportation. The drivers of the boats and buses are always fun. Sometimes they're even playing games with the passengers on
telling
board.
Jokes.
Yeah, it's so great. And sometimes if you have a little one, the driver on the monorail will let you take a picture like up in the driver's seat, depending on how busy it is. That's not a guaranteed thing, but it is a fun thing when it's there and it's possible. I always love the monorail can get pretty crowded. They'll pack each of those little cabins pretty full of scooters and strollers and families. And it's always so nice when you're maybe there at a weird hour. I'm like, oh, I could sit here all day and just ride this loop.
It really is nice. It is. It's a fun thing to kind of do. Like I said, we have done that on arrival days when we don't really have plans to go into a park, and we'll just, hey, do you want to go for a ride around the loop? And we'll just go and sit and it just talk. It's really fun and kind of plan out our day and just overlook things. I'm all about a scenic ride. I will love anything where I can look out a window and just enjoy the scenery.
And that's honestly where you get the time with your family. The things that we're often like wanting, you think about erasing out of your trip, like standing in lines, being on transportation. That's the time when I really take the moment to bond with my kids. Like I always try to have like a little question game or something ready to like ask them, would you rather? Or I have little toys and stuff like that to pull out. I even have little crafts sometimes, things that aren't going to be too complicated. They have told me when I've said, what did you love most about Disney World? They've been like playing games while we stood in line.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Brace yourselves, families,
Well, and I enjoy getting to meet other families in that place. Like it's always a good opportunity. I mean, we ran into someone and she's become a Facebook friend of mine now on this last trip where she overheard me speaking to a guest that was sitting next to me. And then she said, so you live in Alabama too? And I said, yes, where do you live? And she just lives right down from my parents. And so we had never known each other before. It was really neat. So
what's something I never realized until literally this moment. So obviously we use all of the transportation. It's only on Disney buses and in the hot tub at the pool after a long day that we connect most with other guests. So when we're on the monorail, Skyliner, you usually have the gondola to yourself. Sometimes you share, but usually not. Boats, you're kind of separated based on where you choose to sit with your family. We don't usually talk to other families on those, but every time we're on the bus, especially at the end of a day, I make it a point to look at whomever's across from me or next to me and just say, where were you all today? Were you here all day? What'd you do? What'd you ride? What'd you eat? Those are the types of conversations we have on the bus, and maybe why I enjoy the bus a little more. We met an awesome family from overseas, and they talked about how much planning it had taken to get them there. And they had actually been to 2 parks that day. And the little girl was so excited to tell me about the shows they had seen. So that's one of the things I love about the buses is connection. So where you could look at it and just say, it's really crowded and it's long and it's stuffy, I kind of look at it as an extended, fun, relatable experience.
I enjoy that too.
And we also always use the transportation that's closest to the resort we're staying. So more specifically, the monorail or Skyliner. On our arrival, departure, and down days, we use them kind of, Stacy, how you were saying. So whenever we're staying on the monorail, which we've stayed at all of those resorts, we absolutely will take a couple of hours with no real agenda and just do like a monorail crawl. So maybe a bar crawl for my wife and I, but a dessert crawl for the kids, you know, and we'll stop at little bars and get a drink, and we'll stop at all the little shops and get them a treat. And we just take the hours to do that. And we might play lawn games on the resort lawns that are there. And you don't have to be a guest at those resorts, you know, to do that. So that's just a really fun way to utilize transportation. Maybe that's a little more out of the box. Makes me super happy because I just feel like I'm getting a bonus on my Disney time.
That's a great money saver. If you think about all the experiences that you can have inside the Disney bubble, you think, do I really need another day of tickets? Or should I have a day where I stay at the pool, I relax, maybe have like a brunch, do some resort hopping, finish the day at Disney Springs? Like, there's so much to do that you might be able to get away with not needing that extra day of tickets.
Totally agree.
And it's so fun. You know, those are the days my kids love. We have so much fun, and they love just exploring the resort and trying to find, you know, which dessert are we going to have? What do they have here? I know one time I don't know if this is a year-round thing or if it was a holiday thing, but we were kind of riding the monorail and just going slowly around the loop around Christmas time. And they were just selling champagne in the lobby of the Grand Floridian. We were able to sit there and enjoy a glass of champagne. My kids were playing. They had some lawn games set up that they loved. And it was just such a lovely afternoon. Like, it felt so relaxing and vacation, you know?
And Disney's really good about holiday times and making them have special types of foods and drinks available at the resorts. Whereas we know they'll do that in the parks. They'll have, you know, at Easter, they'll have special desserts and treats, but they'll also specifically put them at the resorts. And you don't really get to explore those if you're not taking the time to kind of have, we call them adventure days. Like, let's just go on this little adventure and see what's out there. And you can find some really fun, specialized treats that are only at a certain resort.
Oh yeah. If you've been listening to this show, then you know what a big fan of the chocolate dipped gingerbread shingles I am. That's going to lead us. So of course we're so happy it's free, no car seats, no folding the stroller. It's fun. You can utilize it to build days that aren't based just around parks, which is awesome. There's nothing not to really celebrate about the networks that are within Disney World for transportation. The only thing that makes me a little grumpy, and we've talked before on this show about sometimes the topics I'm just not that grumpy about, you know, I'm not that grumpy about Disney transportation. I don't like folding my double stroller that's side by side on the Skyliner. And I don't like that I have to use a bus to go to Animal Kingdom. And I've talked about that before. So clearly I can't let it go. It's the park we visit least. And sometimes I wonder if that's why, because it's just it doesn't feel as easy to get to me.
I think I have a good grumpy. I think I need Disney to listen to this and make a change based on my thoughts alone. Why are the buses at different corrals at different times? Why can those not stay standard? Okay, you're saying at Beach Club, you're always going to look for bus whatever.
That is brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Bob Iger, where are you at?
Why is that not a thing? Why have I, first of all, never thought of that? I just walk up to the sign and I'm grumpy every time because I don't know where I'm going and I have to look at it. And I may have been at Hollywood Studios yesterday and I was at this corral. And then today that could be easily standardized between every park, right?
I assume, like, I do try to think, like, why are they not doing this? They must need, like, this one is busier, so we put it here. This resort isn't as busy as it normally is, so we move it. But I'm like, oh, please, couldn't you just think it through once? And
yeah, a standardized system for the bus stops. What LJ's talking about is when you leave the parks, there's usually, the bus stops are huge because they're servicing every Disney resort. So, you know, there's like 20 bus stops lining the bus area, and often it's split two directions, you know, X amount this way, X amount this way. And there's one big sign sort of as you approach the bus stops or in the middle of them. And it'll just tell you right or left and a number. Numbers aren't even in order.
No, the numbers are like at random.
Yeah, they're not even nothing. There's no rhyme or reason. They're not numbered. They're not alphabetized. And so you just find, you know, All-Star Music and whatever number it is, then you figure out where that is. So it's not that difficult, but it's difficult enough that it's annoying.
It makes me grumpy. I do. When there's a guy there, like when it's super busy and everybody's leaving the park, they'll often put like a man there in his like orange safety vest and like a headphone thing where he's just talking normally and it's like bellowing out. And he'll just be like asking every party, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? And like, I like that. It really helps. And also I wonder, like, I think about like being that person, like you have to know all those numbers, which you just like, it's not like you can remember it once. It's like, today, this is a new list. Like, remember everything. And then like, just right there, like the guys, next party, next party, next party, next party. And I'm like, man, that's a gig right there.
Yeah, that's impressive. I would say that my grumpy is just, and I've spoken with some clients about this recently as well, is just when there are disturbances in transportation, like say the lightning is a problem and they have to shut down the Skyliner and the monorail. And it just seems like the bus system kind of freaks out a little bit. And I don't want to be, I do want to be gracious in knowing that, you know, some things are just a problem and they're just can't be magically fixed. We like to think there is a magic wand that can make everything super easy all the time. So I try to be gracious in the amount of people that get moved when there's disturbances like this. But it does seem chaotic sometimes. And there'll be buses sitting, waiting for people to get there while there's another corral where there's a mile long line. Like, can't you just switch your light over to come get this little group and move them on? Like, like, I don't understand.
I have, especially at the end of a long park day, this fear of just missing a bus. Have you ever been the person that is, that sees your bus at the stop and just dead sprint all the way?
Yeah.
I've been like everybody jump on the stroller and bust in it all the way. I've run a long way to not miss a bus for sure.
I am not about that life. I talked to you guys about this before. I will wait over folding my stroller or breaking a sweat. We are not going to be doing either of those things.
Yeah, I have this fear that if I don't make it to the bus that's already waiting, it's going to be an hour. And it's not going to be an hour. It might be 5 to 10 minutes. But if it just leaves, I have less of a chance to grab it, you know.
I think it just really goes and strums that impatient part of me that is like, I don't want to wait. I just don't want to wait. But it's that. And I think it's a little bit of that FOMO. Like, I don't want to miss it. It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another goal. It's just another challenge. Get there before it leaves. So let's talk a little bit about Sleepy and the resorts that benefit from transportation. First of all Disney resorts benefit from Disney transportation because all of the resorts will have a bus. You're going to have a bus to the parks and Disney Springs and the water parks and everywhere you need to go on property at your resort. You're going to have a bus stop, maybe multiple bus stops, depending on which resort you're staying at. So that's wonderful. But then you're going to have some resorts that are leveled up because they're connected by the other forms of transportation. So they'll have, you know, say bus and boat or bus and Skyliner bus and monorail. And to me, you are going to pay more to stay at those. But because of some of the reasons we've talked about, you know, utilizing the transportation for fun on a down day, or even just the ease and quickness of some of these other forms of transportation, I always think it's worth it, you know, to level it up in that way.
Well, and look, first of all, let me ask this. Are there times when this, particularly for the Skyliner hotels, Skyliner resorts, are they offering a bus and a Skyliner? And I have had questions about this. We have a client who really does not want to ride the Skyliner for fear of heights, and they don't have a bus. If the Skyliner is running, there will not be a bus to Epcot or there will not be a bus to Hollywood Studios. Is that a rule that there won't be, or is that just sometimes they won't run both?
It's actually usually run both. But if it's a slow time and the bus has just been circling empty, stuff like that, they'll pull the bus and put it somewhere else. But by far, they usually have a bus.
I would just say that if you're staying at the Skyliner, I wouldn't count on having a bus, you know, because it's not a guarantee. I think more often than not, it can be relied on, but I don't, you know, it's not a guarantee for those resorts only. I like the Skyliner resorts the best when we're talking about transportation connection because it is the only form of Disney transportation, of course, outside of buses, that's going to have every level of resort. There are 2 value resorts on the Skyliner. There is a moderate resort and there's a deluxe resort. And it's actually one of my favorite moderate resorts on the Skyliner, my favorite value. And Riviera isn't my favorite deluxe, but it's definitely up there. You know, it's hard to kind of put them in order, some of those deluxe resorts. But I love that you have every option. So lots of families, no matter what your budget is, can probably get on the Skyliner and benefit from having multiple forms of transportation. I love that. I love that it's thoughtful in that way. Monorail resorts are just, they feel unattainable to so many people because they're so expensive. You're spending a lot of money to be in that monorail loop and close to Magic Kingdom in that way. And so it just doesn't feel possible to so many families, where the Skyliner really truly is, a standard room at Pop Century, not that expensive, and you get the Skyliner.
And another level up option, if you're doing a value resort like Pipe Century, you can do that preferred room, which is slightly more. It is just so very little more, especially over your entire trip, maybe $100 over a week to go to a preferred room, and you are saving footsteps to the Skyliner, to the buses. And so you can have a little bit of that stepped up feeling at a value resort, and it really makes a difference.
Absolutely. And Art of Animation, which has all the family suites, so large families can still benefit from the Skyliner. You've got rooms that sleep 6 on the Skyliner, rooms that sleep 5 over at Caribbean Beach. They have the 5th sleeper rooms for families. It just is so accommodating. The Skyliner route for families, different sizes, it's awesome.
I feel like it was a game changer. Like I always liked Art of Animation. When they put the Skyliner in to connect Poppin' or to the Skyliner, I was like, who's staying at the All-Stars anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can save by staying at All-Stars for sure, but in my experience, Pop Century is not ever that much more for the value that you truly gain.
It's really just about booking early. Pop Century and Art of Animation are already booked, and you really want those dates, then you have to go with the All-Stars. And I would feel grumpy about that.
Well, one benefit we do need to point out with All-Star, when people might make that choice to stay there, they really do have a great bus system there. I think they just know that being the only thing they have available to them, it seems to me that it's really dependable, like a lot less waiting on the next bus there. Is that my imagination, or do y'all feel like that might be true?
I think it is true.
I think it's a great point. It's a very functioning system. So it's certainly not a bad choice to stay All-Star, because it's very convenient and it's still going to serve its purpose. Just that you could also get a similar experience on the Skyliner for not much more. I have a funny story about All-Star. I can't even remember every detail, but Stacy, you mentioning that about the buses reminded me when I was in high school, we did one of those high school. I was on a dance group from my high school, and we did a performance down in Magic Kingdom. Actually, we performed in Tomorrowland. We were staying at one of the All-Star resorts. I can't even remember which one right now. It was either music or movies. It was not sports. One day, my friends and I were at the bus stop, and I just was so proud to be this Disney pro. Like, I had been so many times, and I knew what I was doing, and I was going to help everyone. And I realized that I had left something in the room, and I had never stayed at All-Star before, and I did not understand how far the buildings were. I didn't realize that music was super far. And I also just thought the bus was going to stop at every single bus stop at music and movies and sport. I just didn't know what I was doing. And so I told my friends, just get on the bus. I'm going to run back to the room, and then I'm going to run to, All-Star Music, whichever other building it was. And I'm going to grab a bus stop, and I'll meet the bus before it gets there.
Oh my gosh.
I was completely ridiculous. Obviously that did not happen. And here I was running all over the grounds of All-Star resorts. Completely
lost. You could have
lost.
probably done it if you would have known to go to the next resort over, because they're actually the way the resorts are set up, it goes movies, their front lobby building is actually very close to each other. But the resorts are all spread very long behind. You can walk to the next resort. If you would have known to go the right direction, and if the buses were shared that day, you could have maybe made it.
I did run between resorts, and I found my friends sitting at a bus stop. We got off because you didn't make it.
Oh my God.
It was so funny. But yeah, so that's a good choice too. And you're right, Stacey. That's a fantastic point about the buses. I talk so much about this, a lot of the same resorts on this podcast because I feel so passionately about them. But when it comes to talking transportation, this is where I feel the most passionate, is that the Skyliner is going to serve so well for so many.
It really is a decision-making factor on where you stay. A lot of people will pick their resort based on other things first. And I really, besides budget, you also need to think about your convenience, because time is money and your enjoyment factor will play into this based on what you're willing to do for transportation.
Yeah. I also love that, like, the Skyliner hub is Caribbean Beach Resort, which is a moderate resort. And so what that means is that from that hub, you can go to Hollywood Studios or Epcot without changing lines. Where when you're staying at one of the other Skyliner resorts, you do change lines at Caribbean Beach, sort of like how you have to change the monorail line at the Tickets and Transportation Center to get to Epcot. It's sort of like that. And so that makes that super convenient. But some of the outermost buildings at Caribbean Beach, let's say, are so close to Riviera that you could walk there to enjoy those amenities and then use that Skyliner port as well. So you kind of have options. I just love the proximity of everything. I love the convenience. I just think it's great and well thought out and fun.
And I think when you're paying, like, we're all paying quite a bit of money to be at Disney, period. Even if you're staying off site, even if you're just getting tickets, there's a cost involved here. And I think that, like, carrying the cost conversation a little bit further and looking at, if you do pay to stay on site, what does that actually get you? These small incremental amounts more, we were just saying it's a very small amount to go from All-Star Movies to Pop Century. It's not that much more to go from Pop to Caribbean Beach and have that convenience. If you're going to spend $14 and redeem an hour of your Disney time, that's a no-brainer. If you can spend, $100 to upgrade to Pop, and that's going to save you, 3, 5, 10 hours of time over a week's vacation, that's a no-brainer.
And I think that goes right into dock strategies and how you can strategize your transportation and your stay and your visit in total at Walt Disney World. To reiterate, the monorail resorts, Grand Floridian, Polynesian, Contemporary. The Skyliner resorts, Pop Century, Art of Animation, Caribbean Beach, Riviera. The resorts that can walk to parks, the ones we talked about, Swan Dolphin, Boardwalk Beach Club, Yacht Club. All of the Magic Kingdom area resorts are walkable. Wilderness Lodge has a boat to Magic Kingdom. So really thinking about, what is my goal on this trip? How many times am I going to be going to this park? Are we potentially skipping this park? And then what resort has transportation that's going to feed my needs the best? No matter where you stay, you're going to be taking buses to at least 2 parks because no transportation services more than 2 parks, right? So if you're in the monorail area, you have the monorail to Epcot and Magic Kingdom, but then you'll be taking a bus no matter what to Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, which is similar for the Skyliner. They service Hollywood Studios, Epcot, so your bus to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. So another good strategy is to maybe even lean more into that split stay if you're really trying to get the best value out of your transportation. So maybe stay on the monorail line or with a boat to Magic Kingdom or somewhere with good access to Magic Kingdom for your arrival day. Do that and Animal Kingdom because that's going to be a bus no matter what. Then maybe do Epcot as your 3rd park day. So you take that monorail to Epcot and then switch to a Skyliner resort and Skyliner back to a new resort that night and then use the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios. So you can really get into a deep level of planning and strategizing because I just laid out a trip where you're only going to have to use a bus to Animal Kingdom.
I think it's genius. It's next level. We had done that where we actually stayed in 3 resorts. We stayed in the Grand for one night because it was like an add-on night. And then we moved to the Poly and we stayed there for several nights. We did the Magic Kingdom while we were there. We did Animal Kingdom. And then we moved to Beach Club. And then we had the best of everything. Also, you feel like you got 2 vacations.
Yeah, the split stay always makes you feel that way. And you could do it because, like we said, the Skyliner has lots of different ways to, stay and get the access. You can save money by saying, okay, I'm going to start my trip. I recommend starting at, Pop.
At your lower end.
Yeah, your lower end resort.
Do it.
Yeah, start at Pop, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot, and maybe even Animal Kingdom, extend the stay there. Just keep saving the money and you're going to take a bus no matter what to Animal Kingdom. And then on your Epcot day, switch to a monorail resort, splurge a little bit to get in that Magic Kingdom area. Now you've used 2 of Disney's best transportation lines. You've minimized your bus use. This is dock level strategy. How can I do this? And I actually love when my clients will say, okay, we have dinner at Ohana. How am I going to get there? And Ohana is at the Polynesian. I love the darkness of thinking about, okay, where are you going to be? Where are you coming from? And how can you get there? And LJ, plug your ears, because this would go completely against your principle.
Policy. Okay, go ahead.
It's against your policy. But I love strategizing and thinking of the creative ways of saying, okay, take a bus from your resort to Magic Kingdom, then hop on a boat or the monorail and take it over to the Polynesian. Boom. No, I got you there.
If I hear somebody doing that in line, it's one of the, like, I have policies for when I'll interrupt strangers. And here they are. I will interrupt a stranger if their bag is open. Okay. I'll say, like, do you know your bag is open? If they're doing any other craziness, I will let them go. And my second one is when they are doing that madness and they're like, if we go here, we go there, then we're going to go there. I'll be like, hey, I hope you don't mind me interrupting. I'm somewhat of a Disney World expert, and you should not do that. And then I'll tell them, expert. I think you should just spend $14 on an Uber and save yourself 1 hour. Do it. I'll give you the $14. Here it is.
I love that you called yourself somewhat of an expert. You're somewhat of an expert. One of our co-hosts and friends, Becky, actually mentioned on the dining episode, if you haven't listened to that yet, make sure you do, because she mentioned this game that her family does that I'm definitely going to be doing with my kids when they get a little older and they understand the transportation better. And they'll say, okay, we're staying here, we're going to this park, and we're having dinner at this restaurant. Map out our course using as much transportation as you can or as little as you can, get us there. It's like six degrees of separation or whatever that is. It's like, get us there in 2 forms of transportation or less. And I think that's just so fun. And that's the kind of thing that it totally amps me up.
If you are traveling and you do not know how to get from one place to another and you would like to know, you can direct your questions right to Allie, or go to our big Facebook group, Smart Moms Planning Disney, and just ask in there. You will have the best answers within minutes. All the moms in there can't wait for that question. They want to help you.
That's because it's fun. They think it's fun like me. There's no grouchy LJs saying, just pay for the Uber.
If I see it, I'll be in the thread being like, it will be $14 to Uber. Please stop talking about this nonsense.
It goes against my principle. There you go. You asked if I had principles. There it is. I think split stay with the target of transportation is a great dock strategy when you're thinking about it.
And can I add one thing about that? The beautiful plan you had mapped out just now for people where they're staying, at Pop or Caribbean Beach for the Skyliner for the beginning, and then they move to somewhere on Magic Kingdom. I want to underline also that this is a beautiful plan because you're tired at the end and you want to start spending more time in your resort and relaxing and having your pool day towards the end of your trip. Have that be at your deluxe resort on the monorail land. I'm all about this.
It's great, right? Because you could take the monorail after your Epcot day, which let's say is on Monday, because you strategized so well that you have the extended evening hours for deluxe that you now get to utilize because you're checking in deluxe. Oh my gosh,
there's so many reasons.
See, this is next level thinking. You stay, Monday is your Epcot day. You switch over, take the monorail back to your new resort, which is deluxe. Then Tuesday is your down day. You're going to use the pool at the Polynesian and you're going to be looking at the castle from the sand. It's going to be amazing. And then Wednesday is going to be your Magic Kingdom day because now you can walk or take the monorail and it's extended hours at Magic Kingdom.
When people say, what do I get out of using a travel agent? Why would I do that? This, my friend, this is why you use a travel agent. We know this stuff. You don't have to. I'm planning to go to Paris soon, and I don't know anything about that. And I, of course, have a travel agent who's been there many, many times, who's like, you want to stay here, you want to do this, you want to do this. And I am getting to experience like the flip side of this is how we are for you guys when you come to Disney. Like, we know all this stuff. You were never going to think of a split stay that was this gorgeous on your own. Get with Allie, get with Stacy, or any of our agents, and you're going to be able to have that type of strategy built into the conversations that you're going to have.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point.
Plug.
No, it's not shameless. I would never travel. I would never travel somewhere I didn't know without the help. I just wouldn't. And you do go into Disney World totally blind. If you've never been and you hear people saying Skyliner, monorail, you have no idea what that means. You don't understand where it goes. And even if I say, well, it goes here and here. well, to a Disney newbie, that means nothing,
Mhm.
you know?
Right.
Like, okay, cool, it goes there, but I still don't know what that means, you know? And then that had me just now thinking about the Riviera and why I don't stay there as often as maybe I should, because it's beautiful and new and it has maybe the best food maybe not, that might be bold, but it has delicious food.
It's really good.
Very good. Prima Piata is like one of my favorite quick services for sure.
So I think my issue there is because the Skyliner has less expensive resorts, they become more appealing. And if I want to stay close to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, and I want to stay deluxe, like if I want to check all of those boxes, I would be sad not to be then on the boardwalk area, you know?
Mm.
And so I think that's why maybe sneezy is the Riviera for me. Do I avoid the Riviera? Am I just now learning this about myself?
Oh my gosh. If you do, I have some doubts about your sanity. I end up at the Riviera. Like no matter where I stay, I like all roads lead to the Riviera for me. I'm like, I'm here again? And it's like no matter what, I'm gonna be there.
It's so gorgeous. It's my wife's favorite.
Really beautiful.
It's my wife's favorite resort. I just feel like I have buyer's remorse when I book Riviera, knowing that I could be at Yacht and Beach Club. I guess that's my problem. It's more beautiful than Yacht and Beach Club. It smells better, probably, even though both smell great. It's so good. It's so good. I have nothing bad to say, but now I'm just learning about myself. I guess my sneezy when it comes to transportation, because I like to stay deluxe, I guess it's Riviera, because if I'm trying to get close to those parks that Riviera connects, I would rather be on the boardwalk.
My sneezy when it comes to transportation is just folding my stroller. That's the only thing I'm avoiding is folding my stroller. I will stay at any resort, anytime. I just don't want to fold my stroller. That's all I have to say.
And I think I would say for my sneezy, where it's really just a me thing, is I just don't want to stand and wait. I know that I did say, yes, I would probably wait if a kid was sleeping in a stroller. Takes things into a whole new place. But if it's just me and my feet and I'm feeling my feet, I don't want to wait. I just want the thing that's going to get me moving the fastest. So I will often choose that Skyliner that I feel like we're just constantly moving. We're getting there closer. And it's not just that standing in a bus corral, if possible. I really do not want to have to stand in a bus corral.
Yeah.
Is it true that like it's harder on your feet to just stand? Because I feel like that. Is that just me?
I think it is for me,
feet.
for sure.
It hurt. Like if I'm suddenly standing there to watch the fireworks, I'm like now very aware of my feet when like I've been walking all day. And I'm like, is this just me or are other humans experiencing this as well?
Feet and back. And it's where I really have to do that very awkward, I hope nobody's standing behind me, where I have to lean over, try to stretch my hamstrings.
Yeah, you grab the bar. You grab the bar at the bus stop and you're like, pull back.
Yes. Totally. And you kind of make awkward eye contact with the other mom or dad that's doing the same thing. It's like, yeah, I feel you, dude. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the person that is sitting at the bus stop. I find anywhere I can to sit, I'm sitting down. We get to the bus stop, I sit. We were at a deluxe after hours event at Hollywood Studios on my most recent trip. And everybody I was with, friends that I was with, we'd walk and literally every time we stopped, they were like, oh, Allie's sitting down again. Like, I'm going to sit whenever I can. That's just how I am. What about bashful? The things people may not understand or avoid. I think it's just so easy for this topic is people just not knowing how to get to their dinner, not knowing how to get to the park, not knowing how to park hop with transportation, not knowing how to use what Disney is providing in the best ways because they don't have a map to every single thing. So hopefully you can just listen to this episode of the podcast now and know if I need to get to Disney Springs, I'm taking a boat or a bus. If I need to get to Magic Kingdom, I'm taking a bus, boat, or monorail. If I need to get to Epcot or Hollywood Studios, I'm walking or taking a boat or a bus or Skyliner. If I'm going to Animal Kingdom, I'm taking a bus. Yeah. And so I think just not understanding how to navigate from your trip, the point of view where you are standing on Disney property, how do I go where? I think that's the bashful.
I have a bit of a bashful story, and that's when I was staying off property. Now, we talked former episodes about how I was a hardcore off-site is better. There's no way staying on property makes any sense. And I stayed off-site for 15 trips before I finally decided to stay on site and was sold immediately. Here we are. My bashful moment was using Disney transportation as an off-siter. I definitely asked in Facebook groups, can I do this? Are they going to ask me if I'm staying on property? And I very well remember the moment getting on Disney buses to do something, go to a resort or something. I don't even remember where I was going, but feeling like they are going to kick me off this bus.
Yeah.
Do they know? Do I have a red A on my forehead that says I'm staying off site and they're going to kick me off this bus? Literally, if you were like, I'm staying off site, so I just bought a ticket, can I still ride this bus to another resort? They would be like, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's for everyone. All the transportation for everyone. Don't even ask that question. Hop on the Skyliner. Yeah, do it. For any Smart Moms travel agent listening today, actually our hidden Mickey is Skyliner. I think messing up routes, this goes into LJ's principles. I've told this story before. My funniest mess up route was staying at the Polynesian trying to get to Toppling for breakfast. I told it also on our dining episode, how I should have just walked to the TTC, which was close to my building. Actually, no, I should have taken a minivan is what I should have done. But what I did do
You should have taken an Uber is what you should have done.
Yeah, I should have done that. And what I did was, I'll just reiterate if you haven't heard that episode, is I walked to the main building. I took the monorail to Epcot. I walked all the way through Epcot to the Skyliner hub. I took the Skyliner to Riviera. And then I got to Topolino's. And it took us... It wasn't just me and my kids and wife. Unfortunately, it was my entire extended family, my brother and his family, my parents. There were like 13 of us and a huge caravan just trying to get where we were going. We were sweating. We were just totally dead, trying to get to Topolino's. So messing up routes like that, that's a dopey mistake that I made. And it's, bashful. It's why people get nervous about using the transportation because they don't want to do what I did.
Oh, but always ask. Nobody minds to tell you. I mean, even ask a stranger, and we feel great to know what you need and tell you the best thing.
My bashful is the same sort of thing. It's just I'm embarrassed if sometimes where I picture in my head where we are and just walking within the park is like, man, which way am I going? So like at Magic Kingdom, we really like to implement using the trains just to get from one side of the park to the other. And I'm so glad it's back because that's such a cool thing to start over in Fantasyland and do our little things there and then get on the train and then end up over right there in Frontierland. I was trying to say Big Thunder Mountain. Thank you, brain, for coming to my rescue. We like to come out over there and it just feels like we've been so smart. But my bashful is sometimes my brain just doesn't work. And my kids love to be like, Mom, that is not right. That is not where we are. And then I look around, I'm like, oh, you're right. We're so not where I am. But so moms, let's all just give ourselves a little bit of grace and let our kids be, and our husbands, by golly, let them be right sometimes.
My wife is right a lot, but I'm probably still right more. But we've been that's such a good point, Stacy, to what you just said. We haven't really touched on the in-park transportation because the railroad in Magic Kingdom is back, and that's a great way to use Disney transportation to get around the park a little bit more. If you're in Frontierland but you want to be over on the far side of Fantasyland, that's a kind of a far walk, and if your kids are tired, it could be more fun just to hop on the train for sure.
It sure is.
And also at Epcot, they have the boat that goes across the water there in World Showcase. It looks a lot closer than it is. When you're standing in the American Pavilion and you want to get back to Spaceship Earth, that feels really close in proximity. It, in all reality, if you've been walking all day, is pretty far to complete the trip around the world and then back down to Spaceship Earth. So you could take that boat, and it's a nice way to use transportation for sure.
And I will say there are two ways of thinking of transportation for me. Is it going to get me there quickly because I'm in a hurry and have somewhere I want to be in a certain amount of time? Or is it just going to get me there? Because Epcot, those little boats, it's not faster. It is not faster to get on a boat from on one side over, let's say, near the United States America Pavilion and get back over towards Mexico. That's not faster. But is it easier for my little feet to hop on that boat? Oh, yeah. And it's just really relaxing. It's a nice break to do that. So I definitely will look at transportation from that perspective as well, especially in the parks.
And the experience factor that, like we talked about earlier, it is a totally different experience to ride that boat across and see all the things, and you're sitting and there's a nice breeze versus like you're
trucking
hoofing
it. Yeah.
And
You're
the same with the train, like it's a ride, you guys. So it's an experience, and your kids are really looking out and having a good time and seeing all the things. And now, since it's been redone, there's things that you can see that you couldn't see before. And then I also want to mention the tram in from the parking lot. We didn't have them from a long time. COVID took them away for a long time. We didn't even know if they were going to come back. I thought Disney maybe learned we don't need these. People will still just walk 200 miles to get in. But no, they brought them back, you guys. And my kids always call the tram the first Disney ride.
They used to bring tears to my eyes. Like it was the place where we're really at Disney. We're not just in some massive parking lot. We're at Disney World because we're on this little tram. And it's so fun.
As somebody that never drives to the parks, I've actually never ridden the tram, but I've seen them and I know of them. But I'm just going to use that to roll right into our last 7 here, which is Dopey. And I'm just going to remind everyone that you're not driving to the parks. You're taking the transportation. But if you do, that's a great thing to use. If you're staying on site, leave your car behind, even if you have it. That's my Dopey. Yeah, it would be a mistake to use your car when you have such awesome, fun transportation experiences, we'll call them, to utilize for your stay.
My Dopey would be not planning would be the thing. Like being in that moment and being like, what do I do? And like if you find yourself there, you didn't plan or you made a change, don't panic. Just ask a cast member and they're gonna know what to tell you, or even just look around and ask a person. They'll probably know what to do and be able to tell you and be happy to help you. If you are, you're planning your Disney World trip, look at every time you're going to be one place and you need to be another, and make sure that you know what you're going to do. Just take that extra few minutes to plan. Definitely ask in the Facebook group if you can't figure one out. Make that little note in your plans, and I think you're going to feel so much better, and you're not going to end up accidentally, doing around a loop or something like that, because you know where you're going. You have a plan.
Exactly.
And you also can feel confident in knowing that Disney is going to take care of you for, let's say, the Halloween party and the Christmas parties. And because I've had questions like, well, how am I going to get back? It's after hours. And Disney knows there's an event. You will have transportation. They're running at least an hour after it's closing. So you're going to be good with that. Disney's going to take care of you.
That's another great point. Yeah. Any after hours parties, events, things going on, and early events, run Disney things. A lot of times there will be transportation. Although when I did the sunrise yoga, they did not have transportation. We had to either Uber or drive. But most of the time, especially for runners and those races, they do provide transportation and the after hours. That's such a good point. I would definitely say do not, just like LJ said, just echoing, don't wait. If you're having dinner at Hoop-de-Doo Review over at Fort Wilderness, you can't wait until right before. First of all, you're not going to make it because you have to plan to get there. And those are just routes you need to know ahead of time. So early navigation and understanding of all of these systems we've discussed, boating, busing, walking, monorail, Skyliner, you name it, make sure you know. And of course, ask your travel agent. We have our community, the podcast community. We're talking about these kinds of things all the time as well. So always be prepared. Lots of ways to do that. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll hit the lightning lane.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
Hey y'all, it's LJ, and this is the fairest segment of them all, and we are talking about transportation. And I'm just going to start by telling you my favorite forms of transportation, and then give you some of my not so favorite forms of transportation and some things to look out for. My most favorite form of transportation on Disney property is the Skyliner. It's a ride in itself. I love the view. I love how it connects resorts from all 3 classes. My second favorite is the monorail. I love the monorail loop, and I feel like those resorts that are on the monorail loop deserve the high price tag that they command. I love the monorail going over to Epcot as well. It's a beautiful ride and just absolutely gorgeous, and a way to, put your feet up and relax and just sit for a few minutes. My third favorite form of transportation on Disney property is the big boats. The big boats are going to go to like Wilderness Lodge. And then also the Epcot resorts usually have the big boats taking people to Epcot and then also to Hollywood Studios. And then my next favorite would be the small boats. You do have to fold your stroller on them, but the view is still really great and they're usually very fast. You're not waiting for the boats very long. Last but not least, I'll say are the buses. And now I do love that they're giving you the buses 10, 15 minutes away. Like, you know that now. In the olden days, you used to just show up at the bus stop and pray. Like, you had no idea, is there a bus even on this line? That's a joke. Of course there was, but you don't know if it's coming in 5 minutes or 40. And they're supposed to come within 20 minutes. So you're supposed to be able to count on that. And I would say they do for the most part. There's only been a handful of times that a bus hasn't come in that time period. And then am I staying somewhere where there's like a lot of bus loops? Or where there's an inside bus loop, like not everybody for the resort is waiting at this one location, but the bus is going to like pick me up and then go around for 10 minutes picking people up. So I'm an Uber girl. I think I've taken a minivan one time just to like have the experience. So if it's like, okay, the bus is going to take me 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get there, and Uber can have me there in 15 plus, $10 or $12 or $15, whatever it is. I'll make that decision about whether I want to Uber or whether I want to wait. So that's my take on transportation. I think it's hugely important where you decide to stay. And I think transportation is really, really up there on my list for when I'm deciding what resort I'm going to stay. It's a huge convenience and it can mean the difference of a lot of time saved. Therefore, a lot of time relaxing or in the parks versus a lot of time waiting at the bus stop or waiting for your transportation. So keep that all in mind when you're deciding where to stay.
Hey, wait. I know you're ready to get back to the podcast, but I've got something very simple for you to do. Join my Facebook group, Disney Planning Made Simple. I'm Stacy, one of your podcast hosts, and I have a sweet, friendly Facebook group made for those of us who thrive in the simple pleasures of life, things like family, food, and Disney. Join at facebook.com/groups/Disney Made Simple or follow with the link in the show notes. We'll be so happy to see you there.
All right, quick round answers. I want your answers, LJ and Stacy, as they pertain to thinking about specifically transportation. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Stacy, would you stay on the monorail or the Skyliner?
Monorail.
LJ, would you take a Skyliner or the boat?
Skyliner.
Ooh. Stacy, would you take a boat or the monorail?
Monorail.
Okay, LJ, if you were staying on the Skyliner and you had to stay value, would you stay pop or art of animation?
Art of animation, for sure.
Me too. Same. Absolutely. Which theme?
I would probably go Nemo.
Me too. Or Lion King, but probably Nemo.
I love the Cars area too, but Nemo is preferred and right there.
Yeah. Nemo's good, or Cars is good to go take pictures. Stacy, which monorail resort would you stay at first?
The Poly.
LJ, which Skyliner resort is your favorite?
The Riviera.
Duh. Stacy, would you rather stay at the Boardwalk or the Yacht and Beach Club?
Yacht and Beach Club for sure.
Yeah, it's the best known property. LJ, here's the last one. Contemporary or Riviera?
I would say, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Riviera. I would.
What about Grand Floridian or Riviera?
Grand Floridian. I love that walk. It's not fair.
I know it's not an episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast unless we talk about LJ and her love for the walk from Grand Floridian to Magic
You're right.
Kingdom.
I do mention it every single time.
You have to. It means that much to you. It's important. And it's beautiful. People need to take it. All right, that's going to do it for us on the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. If you are thinking about planning, or ready to start planning again, and you don't already have a Smart Moms travel agent, be sure to fill out the link in our bio or show notes to get connected with a Smart Moms Plan Disney show host. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on all social media platforms at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you real soon.